Presentation Overview: Growth and Risk of the Philippine Financial Markets. The current status of Philippine financial markets. What is the potential growth or recent development in Philippine financial markets? What are the present or future risks confronting the Philippine financial markets? The Philippine financial markets. There are several financial markets executing here in the Philippines. These financial markets are not literally a place but a forum that the lenders can lend money and borrowers that can borrow money. These securities are issued by different sectors in the country. It can be the corporation, government, businesses, and other entities that can trade securities.
And the Philippines has become the first country to close its financial markets in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The unprecedented move is to ensure the safety of traders. And the Philippine Stock Exchange is closed until further notice, while currency and bond trading, that too has been suspended. The exchange is hoping to reopen on Thursday. Now, global markets have slumped as the coronavirus spreads, and the Philippines, well, it hasn't been exempt from any of that turmoil. Its benchmark index is down 20% for the month so far. That's the worst performance since 2008. Now, this comes as half the country's population remains locked down, with the whole of Luzon placed under enhanced community quarantine. All those on the island must stay home and avoid unnecessary travel. Local transport services have also been halted, although essential services are still operating. All international flights, meantime, to and from the island, they're going to stop from Friday.
What is the current status of the Philippine financial market? The current status of the Philippine financial market is not in good shape, not as good as what it used to be. But considering there's an outbreak in our country, it seems like lots of people and businesses are still willing to save and borrow money in the financial market. Also, it goes to show that Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas are taking double efforts by doing things that is fitted in our current situation right now. In order to ensure that our financial markets would be in danger, that will help the country's economy to bring positive impact in our society.
Everybody is now aware of the growth story of the Philippines. It's now the darling of Asia. International investors are just keen on joining the bandwagon and trying to invest in the Philippines. The fundamentals have been strong in the Philippines for the last few years, and I think we're now ready for the next step.
I think the Philippines represents great opportunity for international investors. Obviously, the companies here are very strong. The market's done well. They've had improvements through corporate governance and other issues. So I think the outlook is very strong.
I'm glad that the Philippines is now in the radar screen of investors, and the government and the private sector have been trying their best to sustain the momentum.
Spending on infrastructure has been essentially proven in various other economies to be the main driver of economic activity, and I think this will be a strong suit for the Philippines in the coming years.
As the manufacturing demand heats up in the Philippines, demand for power has gone up, and the Philippines already has among the highest power rates in the region. And so many companies, both local and foreign, have looked at and begun investment in power production.
Especially in the light of ASEAN and integration, if there's ASEAN integration and the flow of goods is constrained by your infrastructure here, then you will not be able to participate in the growth that can engender in an economy. So I think the infrastructure space is the most exciting.
There's an opportunity for these private entities to set up power plants and meet the rising demand for energy in the Philippines. But at the same time, there's a demand for these companies to find investors or find sources of funding to finance these power plants.
I've been doing Philippine project finance for about 10 years now, and every year it has grown tremendously, in particular in power, but also in other types of infrastructure project finance.
There is a lot of excitement in the Philippines today. It's an exciting time. There's so much growth potential.
And a lot of optimism in the market. So people making very large investments on the belief that this country is going to continue to grow.
What is the potential growth or the recent development in the Philippine financial markets? The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas reduces the policy rate cumulatively by 75 basis points in the first quarter of 2020. At its monetary policy meeting on the 6th of February, the BSP decided to cut its key policy interest rate by 25 basis points to 3.5% as a preemptive move to support market confidence amid the potential spillovers associated with increased external headwinds and the possible adverse impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on economic activity and market sentiment. What are the present or future risks confronting the Philippine financial markets? Due to ongoing lockdown, a lot of companies are not able to sell their goods and services, yet they continue to shell out cash for some important bill. This condition results in depletion of cash reserves and tightening of liquidity of business. Philippines has an increasing debt to support the needs of the people. There is this credit risk, or there is a potential that the borrower will be unable to pay the contractual interest or principal on its debt obligation. In present, the virus outbreak has been a direct hit on the economy and is already causing systematic dislocations, said Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Benjamin E. Diokno. According to the FSR, as adversely affected as the economy has been, there are no indications that the financial market is in peril. Risk behaviors have shifted though, as risk aversions have been heightened, asset prices have fallen, and risk premiums have increased. In future, the Philippines financial and capital market, despite being smaller compared to some counterparts in Asia, has a bright future thanks in part to government's continued push for its development. Earlier, RULEF UK President and Chief Executive Officer Antonio De Rosas said opinions about the too shallow equities and bond markets of the Philippines are backed by facts. He said the domestic capital market does not really offer enough diversity in terms of managing the risk of clients. Thus, if big fund managers enter the domestic environment, they are immediately faced with limitations. He said that a $1 billion investment, while considered very substantial in the country, is but a drop in the bucket by global standards today. He, however, remains optimistic since the domestic economy continues to post strong growth.